My name is Brooke Abraha. I'm a senior at LREI, and I am a feminist.
I'm Russell. I'm 18. I'm in 12th grade.
I'm Max Freed. I'm in 12th grade. I'm 18.
My name is Noel Diggs. I'm a senior in high school.
My name is Cesar Sublencia. I'm in 12th grade.
I'm Nathaniel McGlure. I'm in 12th grade.
My name is Luis Rojas. I'm 16.
My name is Emmett Stagg. I'm 17 years old. I'm in 12th grade, and I'm a feminist.
I'm a feminist.
And I am a feminist.
I'm a feminist.
I'm a feminist.
All right, so this conversation is about the kind of men that feminism creates. A female friend of mine who was on Facebook, she posted something on her status, and along the lines of, men are how they used to be things, and women are expected to do so much more. But anyways, the point of the video is I don't understand how people could see the situation that's going on and see the differences between men and women now, and yet they don't understand like how we got here. Like, they don't want to address that part. They will look at men and say, well, you're not doing what we want you to do. Initially, that's what they're saying. They're not doing the things that men used to have to do, which they don't get the trade-off. They don't get the disconnect. And I'm like, well, basically, she said is how the tables have turned now. Men are looking for a come up, and that's that come up thing can be either a dude is trying to depend on a female to come up, or he's not leading completely in a relationship or whatever. But some women refer to that come up thing as now as if a dude expects a woman to come to the table with something on her plate too. Men have options of choosing women who want to work, right? So if men don't want to choose women who don't want to work, these women view these men as a come up too. But to continue, they want respect as a man, but not the responsibility of a boy, a son, in a relationship. This is acute, absolutely unacceptable, and will not be tolerated among the women that I hang out with. Grow up or date your mother. And then she did some hashtag, we're retired, dependent man. So now my issue, I wrote my response to that is like, as long as leftists and progressives are winning the culture war, things are going to get worse. And that's what I don't understand is we didn't just get here overnight. Things happened to get here. And then the moment I said that, leftists and progressives are controlling the culture, and they're controlling the influence, and they're the one policing society right now. And they've been doing that since 1970 something, right? And I'm like, before it wasn't like that. Before the culture narrative was different. So what I don't understand is how people, specifically women, they'll look at the end situation and say, well, again, men aren't doing what we want them to do. And I notice this a lot with black MRAs, how they'll go ham pointing out situations that are wrong and are messed up, and the mentality that women have in the welfare state and the government rescuing them and all this other stuff, and how the courts can be used against them. But they'll still go back and they support those same, when it comes to politics, whatever, they support the people who put those worldviews in place, right? And of course, when you talk to a female, the moment you say, you point at, you say liberalism or progressivism or whatever, they'll say, what does politics have to do with it? And she did. And I'm like, well, I'm not talking about, Democrat, Republican. I'm talking about worldviews, ideologies, like how people view life. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you don't have to be a Democrat to be a leftist. You don't have to have those worldviews. Majority of the black people I listen to on YouTube, they claim they don't vote and they're independents or whatever, and they don't have no party, but they still have a lot of communistic Marxist views on how to live, how to survive, anti-capitalism, all that. So it's deeper than just feminism. That's what we point at that, but it's the worldview behind it, right? It's cultural Marxism is what it is. But I just speak in terms that people understand. They're not gonna understand when you say stuff like that. So, and that's my dilemma, right? So the point of this video is to show you, who has the culture, who's controlling the culture, and if you don't address the culture, like it was addressed in 1970, like they addressed the culture. Women said they wanted some difference. Some people, said let's change this. We want an agenda. We want certain things done, and they did it, and we see the effects of it today. But my point is, women, when it comes to issues with women or something, we'll dissect it, we'll break it down, we'll go back to, well, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, why is she like this? Did her father abuse her? Was she an only child. Like we examine and see what caused her to be in the condition she's in. But when it comes to men, women don't want to do that, it seems. And I'm like, my narrative is never going to change. It's only going to get worse. And this video is going to give you examples of that. I'm going to play you two clips, videos of some young men feminists and a brother who, like a on-point brother who's educated in school. You think he'd be the ideal candidate, but he's in a position of authority, I guess, because he's a teacher and he's teaching other men, right? But he's not teaching men to be providers and protectors and leaders and leading all that stuff. He's saying that that's the patriarchy, right? That's archaic, like So you have to address the culture, man. You can't ignore that. The educational system. You can't ignore the biases in the media. You can't ignore all that and then say, well, men just ain't doing whatever, right? Of course, most men aren't going back to that day anyways. Feminism, as I said before, didn't just liberate women, it liberated men. Men don't have to do the things they used to have to do, right? So a lot of men have just looked back and set with their time out like, damn, I don't have to do any of those things. I'm good now. So I'm not saying like you're going to change everybody, but if you don't give a counter argument, a counter viewpoint, things are going to go the same way they're going, right? And again, she's not a feminist. She's not a leftist. She's taking hits from other women in conversations in defense of men. Yet I still don't get the disconnect, right? And I asked her in the comment section. I was like, well, she told me to explain, because she says it had nothing to do with politics. She said everything to do with a man's decision to be responsible for his own purpose and own provision. The difference between a mother and a helpmate and significant other. Some of these men don't have a clue. Well, you're correct. A lot of these dudes don't have a clue. So you're expecting men you have these expectations on what manhood, what masculinity is, even though I don't think women should be defining what manhood is. You have an expectation, and a lot of these men are ill-equipped to meet that expectation because some simply just don't know how. And you have to acknowledge that as well, too. And why don't they know how? Who encourages the environment so that men don't know how? Who encourages the environment to tell men that is not what a man is? She also says you want respect because you're the man, but your actions and ability to take personal responsibility for your life proves that you're still a big kid. Please explain how politics made this happen. And again, it wasn't about, Democrat, Republican. I'm talking about worldviews and ideologies. I'm talking about cultural Marxism. I'm talking about how they control, how the moral decay of a society, right? That's how it plays a part into it, right? They did everything through politics. And I asked the question, who's encouraging men to be house husbands, right? Who's encouraging boys to wear dresses? Who's saying it's okay for boys to play with, easy bake ovens, right? Like, who's encouraging that? What worldview, what political ideology says that's okay? Whose agenda is that on? So you don't see that disconnect, right? You don't see, professors in college and everything, men telling them, and it's working. I'm going to show you videos of young men who've already been propagated by this bullcrap. They're already thinking, they're already apologizing for their masculinity. They're already apologizing for their manhood. Like I said before too, whenever men go up and they present something and they do what you claim you want them to do, and the backlash is there, you're not even there on his team to have his back. Look what happened to Terry Crews. He goes on The View and he says, children need a mother and a father. These things can't be done without both. There are things that a man can do that a woman can't. He shut down. Yet where's the females standing up like, yeah, we respect Terry Crews' opinion. We agree with that. But y'all don't do that. Or if y'all do it, your voice is not seen on the national level, right? I mean, you do have women like Susan Banker. I'm talking about black women. You're not doing it. You have a lot of white women who are doing it now and pointing out situations in society. But it's not, sisters are doing the most of the complaining. They're not speaking up saying, well, I agree with Terry Crews. He's correct. We do need both. Or I'm just saying, it's not. There are some that do it, but they're just not doing it at a national level where people can see. But my response to her is, I don't blame politics. Politics is a tool. I'm referring to world ideologies and worldviews that have shaped the culture. Marxism, the culture didn't have this confusion in 1950, right? The culture had defined gender roles, and it has feminized boys while creating masculine men. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Leftist ideology has been going on since 1997. Something oh, how have the tables have turned? Because she pointed that in her statement. She said, oh, how the tables have turned. Well, who turned them? That's my point. Who propagates the role reversal, this blending of the genders? Who is the one encouraging women to bring home the bacon while telling men it's okay to be house husband? It's a cultural issue that if it doesn't get addressed, it will continue to get worse. And then it might already be too late. That's what I put too. So, you lay that out there. Then I put one of Susan, what's her name? Forgot her name, the woman who did she points out, other things like how, boys are failing in school and how as a society we're not paying attention to boys. You see what happened too with the BS My Brother's Keeper plan when Obama put that out there, which I don't think that's going to come out that. But in theory, that's supposed to be to help young black boys and minorities, whatever, right? And what happened? These men who have been propagated in feminist ideology are like, no. 200 of them said we have to include women, and then all hell broke loose after that. Now you had like Alice Walker and all the other feminists and actresses, trying to position Obama to make an inclusion of women and girls in My Brother's Keeper, like women of color, even though there's already a White House initiative for girls. And if there's an issue with that, which Roland Martin does point out, if you have an issue with the agenda that was meant for you, then go to whoever has that agenda and say you're not doing enough, instead of trying to hijack one that is specifically for boys. And that says a lot, though. Like, it's an agenda for black men, right? And black women are like, nope, we need our piece of pie too, And again, if you want men to do better, if you want them to be in those positions, you would think logic and reason would say, well, let them have this one, right? Even though I don't think anything's going to come out of the program, right? There's already been articles saying that, certain organizations can't even use the money or get money, so I'm not of the ideology, but, we're just going to play politics right now. If this is what it's for, and you see it's for men, yet you can't let them have this one. You want to be a part of it too. And I'm saying that's how you even, and that can point to the situation with Dr. Umar Johnson, which is another video. But like, he's trying to build a school for all boys school for boys. He, I don't agree with his world ideology. He's a Pan-Africanist. That's not my worldview. But he's getting opposition from black women and gay men. Gay black men and black women are like, nope, he's a misogynist. Gay men are like, nope, he's a homophobic. We can't support him. But again, you see, whenever men are trying to do what you're saying do, step up to the plate, do what they have to do for their communities, there's always opposition from black women, obviously, feminist-minded ones, liberal-minded ones, then other agendas that are not, that they don't want to be inclusive to, like, because the gay agenda is part of the black agenda now. That, we can't have a person like Dr. Umar Johnson who's not pro-homo, have a school for little black boys. Like, we just can't have that. So that's pretty much it, though. Like, how can you not? That was one of my biggest issues with Avenue Rants too, back in the day when he did one video where he just went ham on a bunch of issues and made sense, and he was just on fire, and then he starts defending Obama and talking about white people this and corporations and business, and I'm like, dude, you just went ham on the effects, but you defend the policies and how we got there in the first place. Like, they got there from the same party you're trying to, or same, not even party, but the same worldview, that you don't like the outcome, but you support how we got there pretty much. And I don't see how people make that disconnect. Like, how can you ignore how the culture is being controlled and how the culture is being propagated? You can't ignore that. Like, and unless you address it, things are going to be the same way. So I'm going to play this clip of this dude, Tim Alexander, the dude who did Diary of a Tired Black Man. He's interviewing this young dude. And like I said, the dude is, and I sent this to her too. She didn't respond to it. She stopped coming back. But he's an educator. He's telling men, he's on point brother, right? Like, what they want, educated in school. He's been propagated with this leftist narrative, right? And he's saying, telling men, like, roles and positions are archaic. That's the patriarchy, right? Even though black women claim they want to see better communities and better societies, and the best thing to look at is, well, those other cultures have a patriarchy system in there, and that's when Sergeant Willie Pete points out, like, when brothers hop the fence, they're hopping fences to women who've come from patriarchies, women who understand the difference between men and women, and the roles that go along with it. When women are talking about dating and they say, well, I'm going to get me this type of man because black men just ain't on point, they're running to the patriarchal system that same system though that they don't want in their own community. It's just crazy. Like, if you want what they have over there, you might want to take some notes, but nah. And I've seen, Team Get Your Swirl on black women, like, promoting interracial dating, telling women to broaden their horizons, say, no, patriarchy is evil and disgusting and blah, blah, blah. But when they run over and hop the fence, they're running to that same system of patriarchy, right? You just don't want it in your own community. And as long as it's not there, like I said, things are going to continue to go the way they are. But check out this clip from this kid, this brother, and he's proving my point.
Their part in the household is crucial because besides the mother, they need to create a co-parenting relationship for the sake of the child. A father is necessary. I don't believe that a father needs to be in the role of the most in control, or the person with the most money in the family, or the largest provider in the family. I believe the father plays a role as partner. Some people believe the father plays role as the sole provider. Classically, we believe that he's the only breadwinner. We see now that that's not true. But I just try to help fathers understand, at least in my classes, or try to help them understand that their role or their place with women is important for the sake of the child. It's important that they get along in harmony, not that anyone has the upper hand over the other one. And I would like to mention that too. I have a lot of fathers in my class who believe that when they first come in, their general impression of being a father, of being a man, is to have the upper hand or to have a particular advantage, to where the woman would be more subservient, they'd be more domineering, the woman would be more submissive, these classical examples. And then the idea that I posit is that that is only true for certain kinds of men. We see historically that men who I would say generally for men who are white, perhaps that is the way it goes. This idea of the nuclear family in which father knows everything, which father's always been in control. The state, institutional racism, put that particular image there, and they use the media to dissipate that. However, in colored communities of color, it's not true. In communities of color, women have been providers just as much as men. So when I believe that men have this understanding that they are going to be in this domineering role, this domineering position, which in our community never existed. And so I just want to be able to break down those misconceptions, and so we can realize that it's more of a partnership.
Okay, I don't want to completely disagree just to be disagreeable, okay. But how old are you?
I am 24 years old.
I'm 53.
Okay.
Neither of my grandmothers ever worked.
Mm-hmm.
My father's mother and father had 16 kids. And he worked and took care of all those kids by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he ran his house. There was a time, including my house with my father, where men were men, they were the providers. The women were not working, or their income was only supplementary.
Mm.
In the life that you've been born into at your age,
yes,
then that is very much your reality.
Mm-hmm.
But that was not historically true. When women wanted to get married and have a white picket fence,
mm-hmm.
that's because men were the breadwinners,
right,
and women basically stayed home and took care of the family. We had stronger families.
However, in communities of color, there's definitely there's inconsistencies with that.
I'm talking about communities of color.
I know, I understand.
Yeah,
I understand
historically,
community of colors, but I would like to know from where you get that information, because historically, and you might want to look at the work that was done by Roger Panetta on the history of the American suburb. In particular, between Westchester, he did a case study between Westchester and the Bronx as we knew it. In the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, you had black women who were, like you said before, were supplementing income, when in actuality, a lot of their income is what would generate food for the children and help supplement rent, while white people began living in houses with white picket fences and things like that. So it was more prevalent for white people than it was communities of color.
New York has different politics. California is very different.
I was going to say, yeah, these are obviously these are different.
So,
yeah.
And all through the rest of the country it's a little bit different too, but overall. Mm-hmm. And see, the thing is, I live in your world, and I know what's going on now, mm-hmm. but I had the advantage of living in the other world a couple of generations before you got here.
Right.
And so I've got a historical perspective and a modern perspective. And one of the reasons things are so broken is there was a women's movement that actually made men and women competitors instead of companions.
Right.
And that is one of the strong components that broke down the family, because before then it was expected for a man to be the primary breadwinner. Not every man did it, but it was expected. And now it's no longer expected, because the position of a man has been challenged to the degree where you can't really have your cake and eat it too.
Right, but I would question, why was it in that perspective in the first place? Who said that it had to be men? When did that happen? I'm trying to question the epistemology.
I've got a Christian foundation that is all the way back to the Bible.
Oh, okay, see, that's what I was going to say. I'm not saying that I am a man is very powerful and is very moving. To say I am a man, but I feel that I think there are antagonisms between men and women that do not need to be there. I think that we're oversimplifying this, and we're boiling down, pitting people against one another. And that's what I do not want. I want to put the blame on the people who should be blamed. And I believe that the state has systematically created, through their failed policies, an environment that causes tension between the man and the woman.
Now we agree.
Yeah, but I think and I want to make this very clear, because all the men in the fatherhood program right now, all the men in this program right now, I love them dearly. And I love them dearly, and I got into this because somebody offered me the opportunity, because they knew what I was learning about. The thing that concerns me the most is that we're dealing with an endangered species, in particular to the black man. And I understand that. As a black man, it doesn't even matter. I don't have to wear baggy pants. I don't have to look a certain way. I get stopped and frisked too. See what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I understand that there's a hunt on for us. I just feel that I don't want to see any more of us taking out other people who perhaps may be in the same position as us at this point. I don't think it's intelligent, and I don't think it's conducive to a better environment.
It's crazy. He understands that the state is responsible for some of the issues between black men and black women in the black community and the failure of it. Like, he understands the policies. Yet he's still a feminist. He still agrees with that leftist ideology. Apparently he does want to see, he cares for his community, his people, right? But he still wants an idea, or he wants the matriarchy. He's okay with the matriarchy. And as we see, the matriarchy that's in place right now is failing the black community. But yet, how do you not compute that, right? So the state has implemented policies that has made us end up with a matriarchy. You understand that the state has done that, yet you still support the matriarchal system that we're in. You're okay with men not having the power and being in authority of their communities. And as long as women are in control of it, it's going to continue to be the way it is, right? So that's my point about these females who look back and they say, why aren't men doing this, this, and that? And a lot of those women are in the same position. When you start talking about, I guess this is a point that Tyler Willie Pete made, going out into the community, cleaning it up, fixing it. Women are all, yeah, go out, sacrifice your lives, go clean it up. Be men, step up to the plate. But when you bring that into the household, when you talk about leadership and being in control and being in a dominant position and holding things down at home, chicks is like, nah, just like this brother. He doesn't want that part of it. And you can't have half of it. You can't have this matriarchy system, where you're trying to fix the community, but it's headed by women. Like Sergeant Willie Peake says, men are not going to go out and build infrastructure. They're not going to build this patriarchal system in the black community where they have to be in subjection or in an egalitarian position with women, because there's no reward in doing that, right? The women have to maintain it, but men are going to build it and control it. If they're not controlling it, they're not going to do it because there's no value in it. So how does that work? You have a brother that's on point, that's educated and all that. He's your ideal candidate, ladies, for some of you sisters. But he doesn't believe in any of those traditional things that you want him to believe in. He doesn't believe in any of those worldviews. He's okay with you bringing home the bacon. He's okay with you planning the dates and doing all those things. He doesn't want to be in charge. And yet he understands the state's involvement and why things are the way they are. Right. So in this next clip, he's talking about, feminism and feminists and the whole stereotypical feminists don't hate men and all that other nonsense. But
I just have to, I have to actually, get all this academic stuff out of the way first. But
You gotta be careful you pick.
oh no, I know. My program, we have some winners in there. So yeah,
Okay.
I understand.
Cool. Well, thank you. Anything else you want to say?
Shoot. Wow. Just because some people may call me a feminist does not mean that I hate men.
Most feminists do.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Hang out with them. I'm telling you, I hang out with feminists quite often. And there's not a lot of hate for men there. I think the environment makes it to where it seems like they hate men. They really don't.
I've got a list of quotes from the founding mothers of the second wave of feminism. And some of the stuff they said was pretty insane. They said they wanted to destroy the patriarchy.
Yes.
They wanted to destroy the nuclear family.
Yes.
Men are pigs, men are dogs. You can't trust them, blah, 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 blah.
You're very right. You're very right. What I'm saying
that's the root foundation.
No, that's what I was going to say.
about.
That was the second wave.
That's the wave that
right.
we're living in, the second and third wave. The first wave has been over.
Right,
They
I know.
can wear
Actually,
pants, they can smoke a cigarette.
Some feminists believe that now we are actually in the fourth wave. Fourth wave deals generally with what I was talking about with how do we build bridges between men and women to where nobody has power over anybody. Now, before, it was partially
be a handful
about...
of them, because now women don't want to change their name when they get married. They want men to take their name. Right. They want the kids to have their name.
But what's wrong with that? Again, we go back to the epistemology of it.
There's something
what's wrong
about
with that?
tradition that kind of worked. But yet they...
Who said it worked?
They don't want...
Who said
to
it
feel
worked?
like men have any power until something goes wrong, then all of a sudden everything is a man's responsibility.
Right. I've been to other countries, though, where polygamy is allowed. And when they said in Ghana, about 2 years ago, they said, no, women's like, no, we don't want to do polygamy anymore. The men said, what's wrong with that? That's tradition. That's the way we work. That's the way things go. What's wrong with that? So I'm saying, like...
Well, polygamy, I feel like, was always wrong.
I believe, I believe that too. And a lot of women didn't want to be in that situation. So again, when we talk about customs, we have to talk about the epistemology of those customs. How do we know what we know?
But worldwide, men have been in charge. You can go to any country. That's not
right.
That's not
I
a
believe
culture.
you.
That's not just a little, this group does it this way and this group does it that way. That's different than polygamy. Men have just been in charge. They're the bigger ones.
Men are in charge in polygamy as well.
There are bodies insert into the woman's body. The woman's body has to reproduce another body. There's just certain things about being a man.
I respect I respect our differences.
We ejaculate.
I respect our ability to come. I do not respect the deficiency that we may have. I understand the difference.
Whoever ejaculates in charge.
No, see, I don't believe that. I believe that we are different. We're not deficient. Just because it's different, we have different. Just because we're different, we're not deficient. Nobody has to have more power over anybody. I don't have any issues. All the girlfriends I've ever had, they've always made more money than me.
Okay, power, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Let something break. Let somebody have to pick up something heavy. Let somebody have to change a car tire. Who gets called? You know what? I'll say there's true equality when we hear a sound in the house and we're laying in the bed and she'll get up and go see who the burglar is. Then it's like, okay, we're equal now. You go see who the burglar is. You bring the groceries in. You jack the car up. Okay, we're equal now. Yeah, baby. I'm going to lay here. I'm real scared. You go here. You go get the bat and you go see about it.
I look forward to that day. I look forward to it.
Ain't going to come.
All right, and the same indictment goes for, like I said, a lot of black YouTubers, the brother in this video, a lot of black women. Like, they'll, even Sergeant Willie Pete, right, in his videos, he goes at both sides and he points out feminism, but he points out also men not, doing what they're supposed to do, or men not wanting to be the patriarchy, right? Like this brother in this video, right? He doesn't want to be the head of the household. He doesn't want to be the leader. He doesn't want to be in control. He doesn't want those... what the women were referring to in the past as those antiquated positions and roles, right? He doesn't believe in those, right? So what Sergeant Willie Pete says, well, if you want economic stability and you want a better community, you got to have men be in those positions, right? Because women don't build, women don't create things, they don't do any of that stuff. And he acknowledges that, but at the same time, the people who he is saying, like, well, he says, well, white people do this and they do that and they do it right and this is how it's supposed to be and they build that structure, but then he'll attack the ideas or the worldviews behind those traditional settings. Like, and that's like, how do you not you don't like their politics, but you wanna but you understand that that patriarchal system needs to be in place. How do you not make that connection? It goes over my head. But anyways, in this next clip, it's gonna be a bunch of high school kids who are male feminists, and they've already been propagated and hit with the ideology. That's one thing too that Sergeant P doesn't talk about, even though his videos are in context about the black community. You know, it's not just affecting us; it's affecting men in general, like, as a whole. Like, they're all being affected by this worldview, right? They're all being propagated to these narratives. So, you know, like I said before, the black community is just a test. Like, the rest of the country is going to be like that. You know, white America is going through the same thing, and most of these dudes in this video, or some of them, are a lot of foreigners too in here too. But it's affecting everybody, right? All these men are growing up thinking that, you know, the way their fathers did it and grandfathers did it, that was wrong. Like, that's not cool. It's a new society. Women are equal with men, and they can share some of the responsibility. I don't mind letting them be in the driver's seat. And again, that's showing you what's going to happen to the rest of America's culture. It'll eventually be an attempt to be a matriarchy as a whole, right? Not just in individual communities. But listen to these young high school kids. They've already been hit with that progressivism, leftism stuff, right? And listen to what Obama said when he was in college. He said, you know, he chose his friends wisely. Who were his friends? Who is the most liberal president ever when it comes to ideas, right? It may not reflect in his policy sometimes, but when it comes to ideology, before he was elected, he did have real progressive leftist ideas. But who did he hang out in college? Who was his mentor? Bill Ayers? Like, you can't subtract the cultural element. You cannot ignore this worldview that has shaped the minds of a lot of people, right? Why people think the way they think. And that's why I can't blame, you know, when Sergeant Pete says these men are promoting the matriarchy and these men aren't going to do what they're supposed to do. I'm like, you're not addressing why that is. The same, again, I haven't seen you cheerlead for Obama and all that, but like a lot of black YouTubers do, but you still, you knock the political ideology of the same system that has the patriarchy and is working for them, right? So how does that work?
And the reason I joined was because I kind of wanted to know what feminism meant.
My reason for taking the feminism course is that, especially in high school, there's not opportunities like this that come around ever.
My sister attends Lehman College, and over there she was taking a feminism course, women's studies course, and she just seemed to really enjoy it. It was very new. I had never heard of women's studies prior to LREI.
What was your definition of feminism before taking the class?
I didn't have a concrete definition of feminism before the class. I knew it wasn't really the perceived idea to the majority, which is that, like, feminism is all women and, like, a total hatred towards men.
My definition of feminism was any woman who wanted equality between the sexes.
One of the biggest concepts we learned in the class was this idea of intersectionality. Intersectionality is the idea that feminism goes beyond just the equality for women. It's equality between races, gender, class, sexual orientation, and so forth.
At one point we wrote intersectionality essays. You know, that taught me that nothing is really one-dimensional. Like, you can't just be black and be black and gay, or like black, gay, disabled. You know, there are many different things, and that don't relate to the master narrative set in place by America. So that, I would say that is the most important thing that I learned, was that nothing is just one-dimensional. We've been doing a lot. I know we just moved into trafficking, sex trafficking, and amongst girls and amongst really any age of children. And then before that we were doing things like harassment and acid attacks, which was pretty brutal.
what impact did the class have on you?
Feminism opened my eyes to just so much in the world. There are a lot of things that I just didn't know about until I came to feminism, and it really just shocked me.
How do you see the world differently now?
Oh, just every time that you read a magazine, every time that you listen to a song, you can hear the misogynistic undertones.
And I've now changed, I've been able to change my silence into action. If I see something I don't like, I'm not afraid to speak up, and I'll address that.
So a little bit after the class, me and Ileana teamed up again. We spoke at a conference for AAUW against the sexual harassment of students at school.
I would encourage a friend or a peer in joining the feminist movement because once again, it really does embody more than just equal rights for women, or it embodies more than just benefiting only women. It can help us all.
I really try to tell them that it is a life-changing course. It'll test who you are as a person. It'll really impact you.
My definition would now be equality for all genders, but also for other oppressed groups.
My definition of feminism is anyone that believes in equality of any sort, whether it be gender, race, sexuality, that is what a feminist is. A feminist is not one-dimensional.
What do you see as the future of feminism?
Us. We're the future of feminism right now. That's why we have to keep the ball rolling. And I was asked a while ago if, as women, are they good? Or as feminists, are we good where we stand? And a lot of people said yes, I say no. There's still more work to be done.
Yeah, if you don't address the culture, man, you can't really say nothing because you're wasting your time because things are going to continue to go the same way. If you want something differently, if you want options, I keep saying, well, my daughters aren't going to have any sons to grow up to marry because the men are just not doing what they're supposed to do. I'm like, well, as long as you don't address the culture, it's going to be that way, right? They need a counter argument. They need to see something different. And as long as you don't give them that, then you can't be mad because there's nothing, no alternatives. The left understands the culture. They kick Republicans' butt or conservatives' butts when it comes to the culture conversation because they know how to use it. They use the media. They use movies, music, right? All these entertainers, all of a sudden political on every single subject. The next thing that they're trying to go after right now is video games. And Republicans already set themselves back because they're hitting the whole violence and guns and video game situation. And I'm like, all right, the left is about to come in there right now while you're doing that. And they're going to push and say, why don't we have more diversity? Why aren't there not more girl gamers? Why aren't there more gay characters? They're already doing it right now, and I'm going to do a video on that too in the future. But they're addressing the culture, and the conservative right isn't doing that. No, and they should be. Instead of complaining about liberals using their positions and their influence to, like for example, the movie Elysium was a straight up propaganda leftist movie, right? The movie In Time with Justin Timberlake was trash. That was another anti-capitalist, pro-socialist views movie, right? The left knows how to get the culture, and they've been doing it good for the last 50 years. And if you don't address the culture, things are going to be the way they are. It's just that simple. You can't be mad.
To avoid being mistaken for such a sellout, I chose my friends carefully. The more politically active black students, the foreign students, the Chicanos, the Marxist professors and structural feminists and punk rock performance poets. To avoid being mistaken for such a sellout, I chose my friends carefully. The more politically active black students, the foreign students, the Chicanos, the Marxist professors, 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 the Marxist professors.